In this presentation, we will continue on with the comprehensive problem recording the transaction on January 10th for the receive payment from client for work to be completed in the future. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info. So we got paid from the client and we haven't yet done the work, but we'll do the work in the future. We will record this in the general journal, meaning we will journalize it in the general journal, then post it to the general ledger on the right, which will be then used to create automatically the trial balance. So in this case, we're going to go through our normal questions. We might be confused by this one. This one's typically one that's going to confuse, but we know that we received payment. So if we ask our first question and we know where to start, we're going to say, is cash affected? We're going to say, yeah, we got payment. That's going to be cash. So cash is a debit balance. We're going to make it go up by doing the same thing to it, another debit. Right-clicking and copying that cash. Going down here to C22 and right-click and paste. 1, 2, 3. We're going to put the amount that we received, which is $3,000. Then we're going to credit something for $3,000. I'm going to do that with a negative of that number. We could just type in negative $3,000. I like to use the formulas whenever possible. And then the question is, what are we going to credit here? Now, you might think, well, why did people pay us? Because we're going to do work. So you would think it would be revenue. But we haven't done the work yet, so we can't really credit revenue. The other thing we often credit with relation to customers is accounts receivable. But it's not receivable because that represents payment that we haven't got yet. And here we got payment before we did the work, which is a little unusual. That doesn't happen within every industry. Typically, in many industries, we do the work and then get paid. In many new industries, such as service-type industries or things that you have to subscribe for, newspaper, software, then oftentimes you actually do get paid nowadays before you do the work, as opposed to a traditional type of business where you have to perform the work at the same point in time or before billing a client for the work performed. So in this case, then, what we're going to have to do is have a liability account. It's going to be called unearned revenue because we haven't yet generated the revenue. We have this cash, but we haven't earned it. We can't call it revenue. We have to call it a liability. We have to increase the liability because we owe it back to the customer in some form or another. If we don't do the work, then we got to pay it back, or we should, or we owe it in the form of whatever we do, whatever service we provide to the customer. So we're going to credit the liability, which is the unearned revenue. Liabilities have a credit balance. We're going to make it go up by doing the same thing to it, another credit. So in L14, we will right-click and copy. We're going to put that down here in C23 and right-click paste. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to increase the indenting by going to the Home tab, the alignment group, and increase indenting. It's probably done for you on your worksheet already. And then we just need to post this out. So cash is our first transaction. We're going to post that up top to cash. Before doing that, however, I'm going to practice freezing the panes and doing this with frozen panes. To freeze the pane, we want to get rid of this A cell so I can see as much on the right as possible. So I'm going to scroll to the right just a bit. I'm going to scroll up. I'm going to put our cursor in F1. We'll go to the View tab. We're going to go to the frozen panes within the Windows group and freeze that pane. Then so now when we go to the right, it should be frozen, meaning columns B through E remain the same. So we're going to scroll down, we're going to get cash. That's our first transaction in the general journal, first account on the trial balance, first account on the general ledger. We want to be on the debit side. So we're on the debit side, here's cash, debit side, cell O11. And then if I scroll down, I'm picking up this 3,000 there. So I'm just going to say equals in O11, point to that 3,000. This is a debit. This is a debit. It's going to bring that 40,000 debit balance up in the debit direction, doing the same thing to it to 43,000. That 43,000 then can also be seen on the trial balance there. We can see that we are out of balance by the 3,000 until we record the other side to unearned fees. Unearned fees. So if we scroll back up, here's unearned fees. It's a liability, the third liability on the trial balance. It will be the same on the general ledger. So we have assets, we have liabilities, and there's the unearned fees. So if we scroll back down, we want to be on the unearned fees credit side. So we're at the credit side, unearned fees in AB 16, where we will say equals, point to the 3,000, bringing the zero balance up by 3,000 to 3,000. Going to put our cursor right to the left side of the frozen pane, scroll right, and we'll pop back over to where we have the trial balance. And here's the 3,000 there. And so there we have it. So we have increased the cash. We've increased not a revenue account, but a liability, representing the fact that we owe something in the future, probably not cash, but whatever we do for work, the fees, the service. Note what we have not done is affect net income down here. No effect on revenue. We got money, didn't affect revenue. It won't. When will it? When we do the work, how will we record that? With an adjusting journal entry, typically. We're going to figure out how much work we did for this unearned revenue, decrease it at that point in time at the end of the month for the work that had actually been performed, and increase revenue at in whatever amount is relevant in comparison to the work done. That's our revenue recognition principle. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info.